Welcome back, everybody. Lindsay, it's good to see you. I feel like it's been a while.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is going to be a really informative video for those of you that are tuning in with us, because we're going to talk about what it's like to get back into trading after you've had a couple of days or weeks, or for some people, months of not taking a trade. You know, I often look back to my trading career when I started, and I would catch myself all the time thinking that I had to trade in order to call myself a trader or in order to make money trading. But over time, you learn the idea that I happen to be wearing on the shirt today, right? The do less, do it better, do it bigger. So if you're trading less, you can get better at those trades, get bigger in those trades and make more money rather than scrambling at the desk all the time. But what that's led to, it's patience. You, Lindsay, I think exercise that better than most people in the group. And that's why so many people look up to you. So when you get into that period of exercising patience and not taking every trade setup that presents, you will go a day, couple of days, and even sometimes weeks without taking a trade. Throw in a vacation in there, right? You and I both just got back from a vacation. Throw a couple other things in there, holidays or whatever it may be. You're going to go a couple of weeks sometimes without clicking the button. So what I think we can do today, Linz, we'll talk about the GBP AUD trade that you crushed yesterday, but I want to use both of us as the example to talk about what it's like to get back into the swing of things and how to stay on edge, because I hesitated and I didn't take the trade. And I chalked it up to saying, you know, I just woke up, I was a little sleepy, I didn't want to take the risk. I think that might be me copping out a little bit. So I really want to talk to you to say, what was going through your mind when you came to the chart yesterday? Was Tuesday the 20th. After not trading for a couple of weeks, how is there anything that you can start us off with that you think is at the top of your mind when you come to the chart every day, even if you haven't traded in 10 days, 14 days before that? What are you thinking about when you come to the desk after a situation like that?
I'm still just in the process of, I come here every day and I don't know what the market's going to do. I don't know if it's going to give me a signal or it's not. So I just take it as it comes every single day. I don't come in here saying, I need to pull the trigger today. I need to get in a trade today. You know, I need to be involved
no expectations, right? No expectations.
I just come to the desk and see what presents, following the rules and plans that have been working for me in the past.
It's tough because I feel like at some point though, and you'll see, because I know you've had some coaching calls with people, they get to the point of I've been waiting. I mean, some people, they do it from Monday to Friday. They can't even go a full week where they get the jitters and they force a trade. They take a trade that isn't that probable. How have you been able to stay patient as those less probable trades have presented? How do you justify it? Are you just that binary with your trading plan? You're like, oh, this is a C, I'm done.
I think I'm
You're just locked in.
Now,
yeah, you really are. I do agree with you.
My mindset's so there now that I don't want to be taking the low probability setups.
Right.
And I honestly, I've had a lot of discussions with people because our cycle has been slower, for sure. And especially after me putting it on my story yesterday on Instagram saying, you know, I hadn't took a trade from the 5th of October until yesterday.
Yep.
I think it gets all traders thinking, overthinking. Once I executed that trade yesterday, my mind started to overthink. Did I rush it?
Right.
Did I do anything that I shouldn't have done? Should I be in this trade? You know,
right.
But that's only because I hadn't pulled the trigger in so long. And there was no reason for me to think that. I was purely overthinking the whole thing.
For sure. Do you think that social media plays a factor in this? I feel like it might, because if you see other people trading or you see other people talking about trading, you're going to want to come and place trades. But if you have a system like you execute so well, it's tough to take what you see out there and not let it impact your actions. I feel like
since yesterday, I've had a lot of conversations with people on social media that have reached out and asked me, you know, how can you get your mindset to this place of discipline and patience?
And would you tell them, get off social media, get out of the group chat?
How do you get away from the noise? And I said, you have to take yourself away from the noise. And the noise of social media is you may be just following too many traders who are all doing totally different things to
all
actually
over the place.
execute. And the noise is making you go round and round in circles, and you're actually going nowhere.
That's perfectly said. And I feel like it's getting worse. As much as you and me, we try to put out our value, we try to make these videos and actually bring value. There's more people now than ever showing a screenshot of MetaTrader 4, showing all these things that I think can really sway your subconscious. And if that gets pushed into a direction of fear or of lack of, or fear of missing out, you're going to take unnecessary trades. And that's why hopefully the people that are listening will learn from you and me, and they're able to stick in this mindset of I'm in my lane. And I think would you agree with me that you get to the point where you can be in your lane and doing your plan after you've done it well and you feel confident in it, then letting those other influences on social media come in your view, that's fine. But I think you just stay in your lane still. That's what I think, you know how to pull away from it.
That you've got to just stay there with your blinkers on and don't go to the left or the right.
Right.
Just
They're there.
Focused. Yeah.
Right. So let's flip over. Let's talk about this GBP AUD trade. So tell us first, I have it marked up from pretty much about your entry, right? 183.78. Yeah. Was that about the same price you were looking at?
Yeah. Let me just go into the 1 minute just to it was.
Yeah.
I was slightly later. Let me just to get you the exact where I entered.
Yeah.
Because I took it once the candle broke up above the consolidation of the 200. So I got in just at 83.84.
83.84. So let me move this up a little bit. So that's fine. And I actually do like your entry a lot. We'll get to the 1 minute in a second. Talk to me about the 15 minute first. What did you like this morning? I'm starting to mark up what everybody was talking about. Some people were like, is this divergent? Is it not divergent?
So when I came in yesterday to the charts, basically, I liked that it had broken out of the Asia range and it had came back down and came off the 50.
And held the 50. I liked that it was holding the blue 50. Yeah.
And when I saw that was actually that zone, although it was sitting below the 50, it was actually coming off the high of the previous day. So what was that? Monday.
Right
D1.
there.
Monday.
Yep.
Monday.
Right on Monday side. On the pin here. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Got that. I like that. Yep.
Yeah. So I saw that, and it was pretty as soon as I came to the desk, but I had saw that you had been chatting about it for like a good half hour before I got to the desk. So I knew that from the day before I saw it. Sorry, Austin.
No, you're good.
On you go. So I saw from the day previous that obviously it had come up and was long biased.
Yep.
So following the bias, and then I saw you guys talking about it. So I knew when I came to the desk that this was something to look at.
You're like locked in. You were ready to focus on this.
I was ready to focus on it. So
what about the TDI? What did you like here on the TDI?
I liked that it was perfect, and I liked that the L50 was rising.
That's the big thing that I liked about it too. That was what I think was getting me interested, is that this was pulling up, but not. Yeah. So now let's talk about the negatives. Tell me, what was your first thought on the overbought rate here as it tapped that 70 level?
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed.
Yeah, they get caught up on that.
Yeah, it was overbought. But for me, you saw from the previous day, it was overbought, and it still continued to rise once it pulled back. I think the overbought sign in it is we never know when a pair's going to fall away from that overbought, or is it going to continue to keep going up.
Yeah, that's a great point. So now, does the double factor of this potential divergence and the overbought scare you, or what did you see? Because I don't even really see strong divergence here. Do you? Like it's very.
I felt it was more flat.
Me too.
On the other side, did you?
I totally agree. But you know what? It is interesting to see that if you're like, and I do like that the guys.
I don't have it on my notes, and that's because I felt it was flat, and I've got no divergence on top.
I think you draw it. That's the big thing. I think you got to draw it if you're looking for it, right? So you test it. When people are saying, is there divergence there? Draw it. Start at the RSI high, see. But if you look at this and you really blow this up, to me, it's either flat or it's actually rising.
Rising,
yeah. So now I would still draw the line on top, because notice how well it does respect the line here and with this final pin later in the day there. So I think it's still important to take note of, but this is where I would say, and I think you do the same thing, size down. It's not perfect, but it's not like this thing is coming down.
No, I would definitely say that's rising.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rising. Yeah.
So what about the higher time frames? Before we go down to the 1 minute, what do you think about, should I go to the 4 hour first or the daily? Where did you start?
Yeah, no, I always do start at the daily.
So the daily was the indecision one for me. Yeah. And I'm going to turn off the EMAs and the pivots really quick just to clean this up so people can see. We'll turn off ADR too. On the higher time frames, are you still turning off the 800, the 200, the 50?
No, I've got them constantly on.
Yeah. So, but are you paying attention to them as much as you're paying attention to these 8 and 21?
I have started to pay attention to them.
And you find value in that?
I have saw previously that price comes to reject.
Yep.
sometimes, not all the time,
Yep.
but it can do and come away from them.
For sure. And
So
yesterday, I
what
remember you
did,
saying it was at that daily 200
it was
EMA,
at the
which is
daily
this white
200.
line. And that's
Yeah.
what it pinned and fell back off
Yeah.
of. You're right. So
Yeah.
that's a good point. What about the
Yeah.
4 hour? Did you like this as a long bias? Because I think this was very clear to me.
I liked this very much because the L50 had been rising and
Rising.
for a few days kept rising,
Yeah.
and that price action was above the 800.
Yep. 100%.
So I
and look, go back into the beginning of the month, higher lows all month.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. What about the
So
1 hour?
I liked it, and I liked the 1 hour as well.
Outside the 8 EMA all night. Clearly, that's just going to be right. So 100%. I think the higher time frames favored the long bias. So now let's go to the 1 minute. Let's look at this divergence entry. So for everybody watching, this is what we would call a D1. You called this a D1 as well, right, Linz?
Yeah.
So divergence starts. I'll kind of draw it for you here, and then you take over. 311, right about there to 4 o'clock, 3:45. That was where you were looking?
Yep.
Now explain to us why you waited, because where I marked my idea when I sent it into the coaches chat in the VIP, I marked mine down here on the retest of the 50 EMA.
Yeah.
At that point, the D1 is already initiated. D1 is already started. It retests L50s in the buy zone. I'm looking to see that come higher. But you said you waited. What was your stop loss and why did you wait? That's what I'm interested in.
So the reason I waited was when it first initially retested the 50, the RSI wasn't through the trend line on the 15-minute.
Correct.
So that brought it to the close at night, my time, 9:15. And that was when, after that, the RSI started to cross the trend line.
So now, how late on the 1 minute were you waiting once that cross already happened on the 15?
I never actually got in till 9:27. So just before the close of the next candle.
Nice, right about here.
So, yeah.
What was your stop? Was it this pin here or the pin low? What were you thinking?
I took it to just below the first retest of the 50.
Right here?
So it was just about 14, 15 pips.
That's perfect. And I feel like that probably sets you up for a really good risk reward setup.
Yeah.
Where I was looking at it, like here, if you're just trading up to the divergence line or that trend line, so I mean 3R at least.
Yeah.
From I don't know if you looked at my idea. I don't know if I posted it in the Facebook.
Was it 2.5?
Just barely 2.5. Like just barely. Because I was using this bottom as the stop loss. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is the level that I wanted to hold. But I really like your patience, and I like the way that you're using a tighter stop loss to give you better risk reward. Because what happened, I would assume, is that if your stop was here, I mean, from your entry, it took 6-7 minutes, and then you were in profit. You're probably just moving your stop loss, right?
I was just moving my stop loss. And what I liked was the retest happened, but if you notice, price action held that 21 after the retest.
100%.
So that's what I liked, because other guys would ask me, why did I not wait on another retest? There was no reason. There was really no reason for me to wait on another. This retest happened, and the liquid 50 got into the proper zone. So that's what we like to call the safe entry. Price actions holding the 21, breaking through the 200 at the same time, and then I just waited on that extra one candle to break above that consolidation bit, and I got in there.
Like, and when you say that consolidation bit, you mean like right here, as soon as it broke out of that. So now talk to me about the way out of this trade. So you're moving the stop loss up. I see some bearish divergence come into play, and I see the L50 go into the sell zone. Where did you see this thing ending? How did you get out of this thing?
So by the time I was up over 3.5 hours, so I took majority of my profits out at the daily 200, where I had it marked on the 15-minute of my level that I had. So my level was right up, just really at the pin high when it pushed up. I took the majority out just before the R2 pivot. So by that point, I was up, 3.5 hours. I just had my stop loss then at 1 hour.
That makes sense. So then as it came back down, it stopped you out right around here.
Back down and it broke the 21. It took me out.
Nice. So,
but it's what I like to see anyway. I like to see it break the 21 to tell me that the trade's done. And then if it hadn't been as good a risk reward on it, then if you want to try and look for another re-entry, you can.
Did you feel like you graded it appropriately for the quality of the setup? Did you feel like you managed it appropriately?
Yeah.
With B setups like this, do you often lock your stop at 1R or is it more 2R?
1.5.
1.5. So you're really just splitting it down the middle.
Yeah.
I feel like the way we do it makes so much more sense than a lot of other people.
But I sometimes do think, and it's something that I need to test, that I do think 2R for B setups is where
you think so?
A lot more from. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you say that because it's retesting you? Is it retesting your entry price?
Yes.
That's what it's doing? Interesting. What we should test that. I'm interested maybe, and honestly, just to that point, what's ADR on this pair? Like 170?
It's 170. So when the guys were saying about it being, you know, a blown out Asia range, I think it was like 85 pips, and it's usually, we like to see it 70, 75 pips. I think we've got to see that when the Asia ranges do measure to this, it's because our ADR is getting larger.
Makes sense. That's exactly what I was going to, because if you look, this is 173. If you look at Euro NZD, I mean, here you're looking at 134, and it's going up every day. Look, like multiple days in a row, it's broken ADR. So if volatility is increasing, maybe you do give the trades more space to move on the higher probability setups. That would make sense to me, right?
Yeah.
So now, to the guys who say you got to take 5 trades a day, I would rather split my risk and trade smaller between a bunch of trades. What do you say to that? How have you convinced them? Because I know you had a coaching call with somebody recently that traded that way. So how are you working with them to get into this mindset of the do less, do it better, do it bigger?
Because exactly what you've just said there, I would rather put my money on the higher probability trades and take less setups. Because I think it's easier. I think it's easier on the emotions. Let's face it, we're humans at the end of the day. Yes, regardless of me sitting here saying, you know, emotions over, we have emotions, of course we do. Why put yourself through that? Stress, emotional roller coaster, trying to get into 3, 4. I see it trades a day, and trades that are not high probability trades.
Well, do you think it's because everybody wants to make money? I mean, of course that's what it is, but it's like people look to make their full-time income from trading. And I think that's a big mistake. That's why you and I are hopefully keep pushing the gospel, telling people you can't try to come into this, especially with a small amount of money, and try to make it's just not even possible. You're just going to trade awful, and you're going to say it's a scam.
Because I think that's, you know, when you're trading all these setups, when are you going to be clear and precise with your rules then? If you are in multiple setups every single day, that is when I think you're going to overthink it. You're double guessing yourself at every turn.
Every time,
you don't know actually which one's the best and the better because you're trading anything.
You have no idea. You have no idea. No. All your job is to do is read probabilities and take them. But if you think every trade is worth your money, I think that's where a lot of guys are running into issues. And hopefully when we go over our trades and we can share this. So to wrap this one up, I think after talking to you now and me thinking about the morning, I still have a part of me that wants to say, like, I was up earlier than I normally start trading. And I think that plays a piece into why I was a little hesitant. And the only way that I think I can push myself to make sure I'm not actually hesitating when it's my hours is I got to get back on my markups, get back on doing everything that we normally do after the week or so of vacation and stuff like that. And I think that will help me, right? Wouldn't that make the most sense?
Yeah, I definitely agree, because I've obviously I've talked with a few guys in the community who are now at the stage, you know, there's a couple of guys who have pulled the trigger in maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and they're now double guessing themselves and saying, you know, am I being too selective here? Am I overthinking it and not pulling the trigger? And I think you can be in the middle here. You can be that person that's overthinking it, not pulling the trigger, letting your emotions come in now, not believing in yourself because you have been in a trade for
100%. Long. Yep. So how do you balance it?
So how do you balance it?
How do you not be that guy? Markups, practice.
Markups, practice. Like
that's what I'm saying.
The guy that I had the coaching call with today, he's like, Lindsay, how do you do it? How much hours do you put in? I says, look, I'm at my desk every day consistently, marking up, going over trades,
generating ideas
to sharpen up the edge all the time. Always. I says, and if you're not willing to do that, you're not going to progress.
No, you get flat for sure. That's why I think, like, you don't change strategies after going through some dry periods, slow periods. You stick on it. You still practice because there's still entries. Look at yesterday. You crushed this GA trade. There's still money there. So it's there. You just got to be ready to take it. And you're doing a great job at being ready to take it. So everybody can learn from you, Linz. And I know that I speak for everybody listening that we appreciate you and the time that you give to us, not only with the trades, but with the Instagram stuff. I know social media can be a little bit of a distraction for us sometimes, but we all appreciate what you're doing. So keep doing what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody, just so you know, Lindsay's Instagram, her Calendly, everything you need to get in touch with Lindsay, I'm going to link in the description to the video. MumBossTrader on Twitter, on Instagram, everywhere you need her, she's there for you. So again, Lindsay, thank you. Thank you for everybody watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Thank you.